Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 94. You're here with Corey, Doug, and Murph. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be taking an early look at the theatrical slate of 2024 and how it's been impacted by the writers and actors strike of 2023. This won't be our most anticipated list or anything like that. We'll get to that probably in the beginning of 2024 or the very end of 2023. But for now, we wanted to talk about the films that we know have been pushed out of 2024 to 2025 already. Films from major directors, which were intended to be produced, which may not come out anymore, just how much it's going to really impact the year. After we just got through the COVID recovery and things really looked pretty normal in 2023, theatrical wise. But stay tuned after that. Our major topic of the day, because after that we'll wrap things up by looking at how our fall box office pool is shaping up, since it's been a couple weeks since our last one, our last update, and we now have the results of the Thanksgiving holiday, and a lot of films that we drafted came out, so we want to talk about that. But we'll start with our feature presentation, and that is, as I said, the 2024 theatrical calendar. So, as basically anyone who's been following the state of Hollywood over the course of the summer and fall of 2023 knows, there were two strikes going on at one point simultaneously. We had the WGA strike, which is the writer's strike, that lasted from May 2nd through September 27th. So from that period, anyone in the Writers Guild had to put their pencils down, couldn't write any new upcoming material. So, or do any rewrites, anything like that. So that's going to have a major impact on both film, TV, etc. It literally had it from May 2nd when late night shows couldn't do anything, but it's really going to hit movies and TV for the next really couple of years, because everything has got pushed back because of it, as we'll get to. Then we also had the SAG-AFTRA strike, which is actors, and that lasted from July 14th to November 9th. During that period, unless there was an interim agreement with SAG-AFTRA, such as films produced by independent studios like A24 or Lionsgate, ones that aren't in the major Big Five studios or the major streaming ones like Netflix, Amazon, Apple, during that time period, no actors could promote their films coming out between July 14th and November 9th, and they couldn't work on filming any new films or TV shows or anything like that during that time period. So from that point, if you didn't have your film or TV show wrapped up by July 14th, it was likely going to be getting delayed in one shape or form. How far it got delayed depended on how far into the shoot it was and when it was initially going to be released. But now we're going to go through what was going to come out during 2024 and what is going to now come out in 2025. We'll talk about whether we actually thought that they were going to come out in 2024 or whether there was using either of those strikes as an excuse for why those films.
I'm looking at the list,
there's some.
I'm like, I don't know how many of these are pushed because of the strike.
I'd say it's probably 50%.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about some films from directors where they hadn't yet gotten to production, but we've heard whispers on casting and things like that. There was an intention to shoot, and now whether these films actually come out in 2024, it's debatable. Some of them may be 2025 releases now, because let's say the actors that were going to be in them have prior obligations that they need to fulfill first, like completing a project that was already in production prior to the actors strike, and then getting to something that they were already obligated to work on after, until they got into working on a film by this director. We'll start with the intended blockbuster films, I will call them, that were pushed from 2024 to 2025. And the one which will definitely make the most box office and is one of the most questionable, I would say, with whether it ever had a real shot at 2024, is Avatar 3. It's the first of many Disney films that have gotten pushed from 2024. And as James Cameron just made of note this week, he said he's got 2 years of intense post-production still to go on Avatar 3 to hit its
He's already like hedging for like 2026.
Yeah, like I'm fully expecting like that film is not coming out in December 2025 based on his most recent comments. And then all the subsequent Avatar sequels will also get pushed back. But yeah, they use the writer's strike conveniently as the reason for that getting pushed back and all the sequels getting pushed back and a lot of MCU movies and Star Wars movies getting pushed back. But it's debatable. Based on what he said, it's 100% not based on the strikes because they were in post-production. So like they have been working on all these things during both of these strikes.
I mean, when you think about how long Avatar 2 took to get, I think Cameron's just gonna take his time to get it to where he wants to get it, and it's
so funny though, because like how much of a leap is he going to be making in as far as technology goes from Way of Water to Avatar 3? Like all we know right now is that there's going to be like a fire aspect to the movie,
fire tribe, right?
Yeah, and that his son from the movie is taking over as the narrator from Jake. So those are like the two things that have come out this past week, and they've talked about the fire tribes being part of it in the past. But I mean, I wouldn't think they're making the types of technological leaps that they did with Way of Water, where it would take so long. I mean,
maybe
cool if they do, I guess. I mean, Way of Water was a major upgrade in all aspects from Avatar 1. What were you going to say, Corey?
I guess maybe the focus on, a different, gimmick. Water was kind of the gimmick of that movie. Fire is going to be the gimmick of this movie, or maybe more so something else. And that's going to be a way for him to expand and do something new. Because he always has a theme with these movies, and that he runs with that. So maybe that's how he's going to really expand on the technology, do something different. I hope, because if it's more of the same, then it's gonna get stale real quick. I think
for Cameron, these are passion projects a little. To some extent.
Yeah,
and definitely. I think that's the problem for release dates is he wants to it's kind of like an artist working on a masterpiece or whatever in his eyes, or he's just kind of gonna take his time and make it to be what he thinks is perfect versus just throwing out a new Terminator or something like that, where it's more of a studio project.
Yeah, and he's one of he's one of the few people that work for Disney that could just say fuck off. I'm taking the time I need. Mm-hmm. Sorry, you need to wait.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of their big money makers.
Yeah. But yeah, this is probably $2 billion off the table for next year worldwide. So that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Then we'll run through the MCU movies that have all been pushed for one reason or another. We got Blade, which that was a writer's situation. They've yet to solidify the script for this movie. So naturally that had to get pushed.
That was also yes, it's a writer situation, but I mean, they fired their writer and
they fired so many writers.
That movie's had so many problems. That movie wasn't coming out in 2024, regardless of the writer's strike.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been tough for it to do so.
It was laughable that they were even trying to say it was coming out at the time. Yeah. So I'm putting that if we're putting it on the bucket that the sus
probably
bucket,
wasn't. Yeah, the sus. That's fair.
I'm gonna put Blade over on the sus bucket.
Yeah, and then their next one, which is clearly we need to do a lot more work on this film and do damage control. It's Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah,
we know it wasn't testing well. This was a movie that was filmed prior to the actor strike. It was supposed to come out summer of 2024. Everyone suspected when Deadpool wasn't done yet, they'll just move up Captain America to Deadpool's slot and push Deadpool back to Captain America's slot. Instead, they push Deadpool back to Captain America's slot and push Captain America back till the following February of 2025. So this comes into what recent comments from Bob Iger that they're looking at quality over quantity and wanting to make sure the projects are done right before release, and that they're not just throwing out product just to throw out product. They're really trying to put out better material. So this one clearly has a lot more work to do. They'll probably be doing reshoots and things like that. But it's a long ways away now, when we originally thought it was going to be coming out pretty soon.
Yep.
And then we have also on the MCU side, Thunderbolts. That was going to be a December 2024 release after Avatar got pushed from its 2024 release. This one got put in its place, and now this one's also not coming out because this one wasn't done with its script and hadn't gone into production prior to the strikes. So they're at a point where this isn't coming out until 2025.
Yeah, Thunderbolts is the only one that we've mentioned so far where I think probably it was affected timing wise by the strike.
Yeah.
Whereas the others felt like the strike was more of an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we're looking at like Disney intended to originally have an Avatar movie, would have been massive. Then an MCU movie, more questionable, but would have been, it's one of their most reliable brands, obviously. And now they've currently got nothing slated for next December, which we'll get to once we get to the 2024 slate. But outside of the MCU, we've got, if we want to stick with Disney, we might as well. We've got Pixar's Elio. They've had trailers for that coming out since Elemental this past summer. It was supposed to come out in February or March, I think March, but that's been pushed back all the way to 2025. Since they're similar to the MCU, they're spreading out their product. The MCU only has one release coming out in 2024, and now Pixar also only has one release coming out in 2024, but it's the safer bet. It's Inside Out 2. So they've got that coming out next summer. And then they've got Deadpool 3 coming out next summer. So only one film each from two of their big brands, but they are safe movies coming out from their two brands.
I fully expect Deadpool 3 to be huge.
Exactly.
It's going to be massive.
I think it's going to be like No Way Home.
Yeah, I'm expecting really big numbers from Deadpool 3, and I'm expecting pretty damn big numbers from Inside Out 2. All their sequels have performed well, with the exception of like the Cars movies, because no one was really asking for them. They're merch machines. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, when it comes to Disney, we also have their live action adaptation of Snow White. That was supposed to come out in March. Now that's not coming out until March of 2025. So they've got no live action adaptations next year. They've got no Star Wars next year. They've got one MCU, one Pixar. They've got no theme park adaptations. They don't really have much. They've got no Avatar. They really have got nada next year. It's pretty interesting. I think they have more stuff coming out from like 20th Century Studios.
I was gonna say, do they have some 20th Century Fox?
Yeah, they've got like Planet of the Apes. They've got Alien. Right. They've got Alien. So they've got stuff coming out from their 20th Century brand, which is finally not getting just pushed directly to Hulu, but like going into theaters. But they don't really have much from their big brands on the Disney side. I don't know if they have a Disney animated movie next year. I haven't heard anything. What is it? Disney Animation Studios is the name. Let's see. Feature films. Give me one moment. Productions, feature films. As of now, they have an untitled movie apparently coming out November 27th, 2024. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that isn't actually going to happen. After the past whiffs that they've had with Strange World and Wish, which we'll talk about soon. So yeah, I think they're relying on 20th Century, which is pretty interesting. even though Avatar obviously is their biggest 20th century movie. But yeah, that's Disney's movies. Then we've got Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 2. Is that title actually going to remain the same? It's debatable because now they're calling it Mission Impossible 8 in any sort of trade
Why tie
material.
it to a movie that didn't perform?
Yeah. But that's a film that was only halfway through production. I mean, these Dead Reckoning movies have been absolutely screwed this century by both COVID and the strikes. It has been a costly endeavor, but that one's been pushed to Memorial Day of 2025. But yeah, like you said, Doug, why tie it to a movie that underperformed based on their shoddy release date this past summer? But we know they will have 3 weeks exclusivity in IMAX for the next one. So hopefully it rebounds for what's likely now the final installment.
Yeah, don't time it up against another Barbie Oppenheimer.
Yeah. And then do we think Snow White, do we think that is related to strikes, or do we think that has something else? I have a tinfoil hat theory. If we want to go into tinfoil hat theory for why it was pushed back a year.
As long as it doesn't get us canceled.
And it might. So maybe we'll avoid the tinfoil hat theory. But I mean what people are saying on the internet, which isn't my theory, is like all the bad press it's gotten for like the photos of the movie that have come out so far, and comments that have been about the movie and about how it being like too woke and things like that. I'm not fully buying it, nor am I buying like that this needs like a whole another year of reshoots and things like that. Like I don't think if they were doing like crazy post-production changes like Sonic the Hedgehog to change the looks of things, I don't think that requires a full year. I think they could still get it out in 2024. So I think there's other reasons in play. But,
do you think they'll cancel it outright?
No, I think the movie's coming out. I think they're trying to fuck it. I think they're just trying to distance it from everything going on right now in Israel and Palestine, because Gal Gadot is one of the more outspoken celebrities, and she's Israeli. And they announced the postponement only a couple weeks after everything started to go down in the Middle East after the terrorist attack in Israel. So I think it's, hey, let's wait this out rather than start the marketing machine right now when things are as loud as can be. Hope things are in a much better place overall in a year from now than right now, because it like you'd have a situation where they have to worry about like the evil queen in the movie talking about politics in any particular interview and press, and that is not something Disney wants right now. So that is my tinfoil hat theory for why it's been pushed back a year. I don't know if you guys are like, that's an interesting theory, or if it's like that's a fucking wacky theory. But
I don't think it's wacky at all. I think it's very very plausible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like that's impossible, but I'm also not like Murph. I agree, or I think that you've got a point. I think I'm probably more in the like it probably was a production issue.
Like you think the quality is just not there?
Well, no, I just think I think the strike actually affected it. So,
like for reshoots, because it was already done.
Oh, it was done already?
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in March, and they just announced in the end of October that it was getting pushed a year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, fishy the way that
it was just timing. It made me think that like could be a possibility. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's just caught the quality of the movie and it goes into the whole Bob Iger. We need quality. And I know another thing he said of recently is we need to focus more on the quality, like story over messaging, over like a movie having a message. and he thinks they went too far into like all their movies focusing on having like messages before the
Right.
storytelling. But like at this point, it's too late with anything that's already like nearly complete.
Yeah, that movie's done.
So they're going like it's going to take till 2025 or till we see movies that go back to that former way of being created. But I don't know. Either way, could be strike related, could not. But we'll I don't know. We'll see. But it goes back to Disney just does not have much coming out next year. And it's pretty crazy. Especially after the horrendous year that they had this year. And we'll get to that in another episode. All right. Lastly, the last major film, which we all had our fucking doubts about actually coming out this year, or in 2025, as far back as the summer, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, or Beyond the Spider-Verse. Because once Beyond the Spider-Verse came out, I keep going back and forth with these titles. Once Across the Spider-Verse came out, and they were like, yeah, we basically like got this movie done yesterday, and they were still editing it like as it was in theaters and sending new copies like over and over again. It was pretty apparent that Beyond the Spider-Verse was not going to be ready for the following March.
No,
they still have to do
Talk
voice
about coming
work
in hot.
and all these other things. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, didn't like
we had
what's
our
her face say that she hadn't done like any voice work so far?
Haley
Steinfeld, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't even know if this movie comes out in 2025, to be honest.
yeah, like
yeah, I don't know either.
wouldn't shock me at all.
It's another Avatar
2026
like
release.
situation.
Yeah, it's like we just need to get this thing right and then take as much time as we need.
Because didn't they take a while between Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse?
It's 4.5
4
years.
Yeah.
4.5 years between the releases. They
2
were
years
working
of it
on.
was spent on
They
that
were
one
working
scene.
on 2 and 3 at the same time, but I'm sure like so much more of their work went into 2 during that same time period.
And it sounded like the story was changing.
It sounded like it
Really
originally
good.
just became bigger. Like it was originally just one announced sequel, and then it got so big that it turned into part 1 and part 2, and then it turned into okay, these are 2 completely separate movies. Like they're having their own unique titles. Like they're that big, like big in story structure. So yeah, those are a lot of films, a lot of money that are now off the table. Granted, Disney's has had a lot of failures this past year. Mission Impossible didn't work out, and superhero fatigue clearly seems to be a thing. After this,
Indiana Jones didn't
year
work
and a half.
out. Little Mermaid underperformed. I mean, it was a bad year for Disney.
Yeah, across their only 100% success story was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah,
and that is such a bittersweet one for them because it was their last
gun.
Yeah, it was their last gun project. So it was an utter failure. Little Mermaid it was a hit domestically, but worldwide it absolutely underperformed. And then everything else was like just pretty bad. Elemental was like it did good after its opening weekend, but like it still wasn't like a hit. I mean, it's a massive hit on Disney Plus, but it just goes into we've made our audiences wait for Disney Plus.
Yeah, I bet you Wish blows up on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, Wish is gonna be huge on Disney Plus. It's gonna be like an Encanto type situation. Not as big because it's not like all Miranda songs.
And it's not supposed to be anywhere near as good, but
yeah. But I mean, it's definitely going to be a lot. Everyone probably saw the reviews, like parents, and we're like, all right, we'll wait till Disney Plus. It'll be out quick. Like you've trained us to just wait versus spending like $100 for a family to go see the movie. So, yeah, as much as quality goes into it, I think Disney Plus, like, it was like the snake eating its tail when it came to their success post 2019, when they were massive in 2019, and then ever since 2020, it's been gradually going downhill. So, yeah, that's it for the big movies. As far as directors, for like the cinephiles that are listening, I mean, we're supposed to have films go into production by Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, Ari Aster, Zach Kreger, Jordan Peele, Quentin Tarantino. All of these directors had films that were supposed to go into production this fall. Like a bunch of them had casts announced for them. Some of them had actual release dates. I think the only one with a release date so far is Jordan Peele's. They still have it scheduled for December of 2024 for Christmas, but they just dropped Universal owns Focus Pictures, and they just announced Nosferatu's coming out Christmas of 2024. So clearly, the Peele movie is not actually coming out that same day. And when it hasn't even gone into production and there's no cast for it, it's not getting moved up; it's getting moved back. So that one's likely to be a 2025. We'll see about the movies from Tarantino or PTA or Wes Anderson, Ari Aster, etc. Some of these likely will come out, but I'd say it's probably a 50-50 of which ones come out, which ones don't. And as much as it is excited, like as film fans, we're looking excited for these movies. The only one that is likely to make a big dent box office wise are the ones from Peele and Tarantino. The other ones aren't known exactly for box office. I mean, Zach Kreger's an up and comer, but the rest of them are like indie directors who you're excited for just as a film fan, but you're not expecting to make tons of money. But yeah, let's dive now into 2024 and what we see on the calendar that will actually like probably break out and be a big hit. And then if there's anything of note about these films, we'll go into that as well. But should be fairly quick for a lot of the months. I mean, once we get to October, December, it's pretty barren because these studios have no idea what's actually going to be able to be made or not. But thankfully, yeah. Sorry.
Shoot, sorry, Siri just like activated on me.
No worries.
It like takes over the sound. I was just flipping through it. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to talk about for January or February of next year, but I see something that
one
movie
that I wanted to bring up that I've been thinking about since we've started to see the trailer and then the movie got pushed back into February. Bob Marley. I think that movie's going to be pretty big. I think that
one was supposed to originally come out in January. It's got moved to February. So it's definitely not like an awards type movie. Like they knew that wasn't in the cards. But yeah, they've been showing the trailer off in front of like everything.
I could see that movie being a decent hit. Could be a big hit. It's got a lot of fans. And looks good.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a Blumhouse movie, requisite Blumhouse movie to kick off the year after Megan did so well last year with Night Swim. I'm interested to see how Mean Girls does as like a musical adaptation as a film. But that's really it for January. With February, we've got some movies that were pushed back from 2023 in Drive Away Dolls, the new one from Ethan Coen, of the Coen Brothers fame, and then Ordinary Angels with Hilary Swank.
Murph's lost movie.
My lost movie from this year. Argyle, we've been seeing the trailer for that one with everything, so it'll be interesting to see if Matthew Vaughn can have an original hit. That's another Apple Studios film that they're putting out in theaters. They're going big on theatrical. So it'll be interesting to see how that performs. And then
Madam Web.
Madam Web was what I wanted to talk about, in the fact that we're likely
looks horrible.
We're likely going to have more movies from Sony's Marvel movies than DC and the MCU combined in 2024.
I think Sony's going to learn that they're like, I mean, these other properties that aren't Venom or Spider-Man are not gonna perform.
It's also really damning for like the MCU and DC that bad movies or bad superhero movies are being released, and like basically the only ones being released. That makes it harder to get people back into the theaters to see their movies.
And then the normal moviegoer is going to see Madam Web and be like, oh, God, here's another really terrible MCU movie.
They're just going to see Marvel on the screen, and they're not going to have a clue that it is not Marvel Studios. They're going to be, oh, it's Spider-Man related. And as the trailer has shown, it doesn't look great.
It's not going to help them at all.
It has already kind of turned into a running joke, similar to Morbius.
It kind of looked like, I thought it looked like a CW TV show.
Oh, yeah, it has that vibe.
CW is, it's easy to say that. It's easy to say it looks like one of the like early mid-2000s superhero movies.
But apparently that's the aesthetic. That's the aesthetic that they're going for.
Yeah, they were going for that.
Interesting
That was a choice.
Interesting thematic choice.
It's like The Flash.
Yeah.
We wanted the CGI to look like a video game.
We were aiming to look poor. We thought audiences would really go for it. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Madam Web because they got Sony's got 3 Marvel films on the docket for next year as of now.
What is it? This, Craven, and then
Craven and Venom 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They're filming.
And then if we want to pretend like Beyond the Spider-Verse because it's technically undated, or they could have out. 4, but there's no way it comes out.
There's no way.
But the other 3 look like they actually will. And I will say for Sony, despite the fact that they've got a lot of these movies pushed back, or they've got a lot of these Sony movies, they're in probably some of the best shape for 2024 because they pushed back a lot of their movies because of the strikes from 2023 to 2024, including Ghostbusters. Craven was one of them that was pushed back. There's some more which we'll get to, but like they made sure that they had things on the docket and a full cast to promote their films in 2024 compared to a lot of the other studios which pump their stuff out according to plan, but box office ain't been very strong so far for the fall of 2023, which we'll get to in our post credits. But yeah, that's it for January and February. March, we've got Dune Part 2. Speaking of releases that got pushed from 2023 to 2024, this is by far the biggest one. We're all hyped for it. Anything to add here about Dune? It was probably originally going to be like an awards player. It likely still can be because so many movies aren't coming now, kind of come out in 2024 where people will still remember it at the end of the year, at least for a lot of the like below the line type Academy Award nominations. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely the biggest film of the spring.
It's definitely one of the movies I'm looking forward to the most next year.
Yeah, when we get to our most anticipated list of next year, I know for a fact it's going to be on all of them because it was on all of our lists for our most anticipated films of 2023.
I still can't believe that this movie's coming out in the spring. It's wild to me.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have been more of a summer movie if you were going to push it out of the last fall and didn't want to push it a full year. But I mean, they've got their full cast now to promote it. They've got Zendaya, Timothée Chalamet, etc. To mark the hell out of it. So we'll see how it does. We do have Ghostbusters. Again, that was one that was tied for. It was going to come out in December of this year. Very much has like a winter theme, so I don't love the end of March release date for it. The movie's set in summer, but it has a winter theme. So I don't know why you didn't go with just pushing it to the summer versus the end of March. But what do you think of the trailer? We haven't talked about that.
It was all right.
Yeah, more of the same kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I like the being back in New York. Kind of made it feel more Ghostbusters to me. But I mean, it's the same vibe as the first movie.
Yeah, I'd say tone-wise, it has the same vibe, but I do like that's back in New York and that it's got like an original villain instead of like just a rehash of the past.
Yeah.
That was what I was worried about, that they were just going to be, reusing another villain. So that seems really cool. You got something original.
Something
that Night Walkers.
Yeah, right. It does. It does. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, they are. Maybe they'll do it better than Game of Thrones did.
Yeah, it's not a high bar, Murph.
I know. You're right. What does kind of concern me is that they said they looked at this movie like it was a full-length episode of the animated series.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
That's
I
like
kind of I
that was
heard
their
that too.
approach towards making it. When that kind of troubles me. They basically accepted like this isn't the Ghostbusters of the '80s. Like the first two movies were a different thing. Were for families and everything like that with the kids and whatnot. But yeah, now they're leaning into cartoon aspects as well.
I wonder with that what they mean, because that show definitely had its own look to it for 100%.
Yep.
But I remember the show also being pretty creepy. Like it had like a horror element to it at times. So I wonder if they're going to be pulling that in as well, or if it just
Perhaps. I mean, it looks
if it just
creepier than the
means
last movie.
yeah. I mean, it could just mean like, oh, we just wanted to be more cartoony, but
True.
Slimer was like their like little pet in the cartoon.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Toned him down significantly.
Yeah, which is like not what he was like in the movie.
Yeah. Otherwise, for March, we've got Kung Fu Panda 4. So DreamWorks is diving back in that well. I think this is only the second time they've done a fourth film after Shrek. But I'm sure there's plenty more to come because original animated films are bombing left and right ever since COVID. So, or I think Coco. Coco was the last huge original animated film, which was all the way back in the end of 2017.
Wow.
So we'll see how Migration does for me next month because that was my big pick for the fall. Otherwise, one last thing of note, we've got Bong Joon-ho's next film, Mickey 17. This is follow-up to Parasite, starring Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo. Hyped for this one just as a film fan. I mean, this looks like it's one of his more mainstream films, more like, I mean, not that Snowpiercer was mainstream, but it should have been if the Weinsteins didn't fuck it over. But the premise is it's a feature adaptation of a science fiction novel that follows the story of Mickey 17 in Expendable. I put that in quotation marks, who is a disposable employee on a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world. I don't know how to say the words. I'm not going to say it. Colonize an ice world. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. So it's a cool concept, sci-fi. And yeah, this is one I'm excited for from who's it from? Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers got some cool shit coming out in March. I mean, it's got Dune, Mickey 17, then they've got Furiosa, which we'll get to in May. They've got a lot of cool fan, like big budget movies for cinephiles next year, which is nice to see.
Mickey 17, hopefully they didn't give him a huge budget because that's not going to make anything.
Because of the fact that it's an original sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It's fair. Can't really argue with that. It doesn't have its budget on Wikipedia, but let's hope for their sake it was under 100 million.
Yeah.
All right, then we get into April. We got 20th Century Studios again carrying Disney with the horror movies like The First Omen and things like Alien and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was later in the year. We've got Warner Brothers also with Godzilla X Kong.
I was looking at that and I was like, is it Times
Kong, the new empire?
Wait, that's oh my god.
Yeah. Also weird that Warner Brothers has that and Legendary have that coming out 1 month after Dune. Like, why aren't you spreading your movies around? Like, and then right after Mickey 17 with Warner Brothers. So we may see some movies. I think we're gonna have to see some movies from earlier in the year get pushed back to later in the year, just because there's like so much in the beginning of the year and not really anything in the end of the year.
Yeah, they got to balance it out.
Yeah. We've got the untitled Universal Monsters film from our friends at Radio Silence, aka the Ready or Not directors and the Scream 5 and 6 directors. That's starring Melissa Barrera, recently kicked off Scream 7, along with Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Giancarlo Esposito, the late Angus Cloud from Euphoria. So it's got quite a cast. Not really sure what the movie is about, but it has my attention. I could tell you the whole plot, but I don't really want to.
Is it connected to the? Is it connected to the whole most recent Marvel Monsters universe?
Or the Universal Monsters universe? No,
Yes.
this is not. This is not
I'm
part of the
sorry.
dark. This is not part of the dark universe.
Oh.
I think this is more of the Invisible Man, like you do your own thing type of movie. But apparently, it is reportedly inspired in some capacity by the 1936 Universal film Dracula's Daughter, and will revolve around a group of kidnappers abducting young people. But definitely hyped for this one.
Huh.
And then lastly, another movie that got pushed back from 2023, another Zendaya film, Challengers, a more indie movie, MGM, tennis-based movie, and we'll see how that does. May is where I think we really start to see the drought kick in. This is only the third time since 2000 and post 2002, when Spider-Man came out in May of 2002, that a Marvel movie is not kicking off the summer. The only other summers were 2005 and 2006. And even in 2006, they had the last X-Men 3, The Last Stand, come out Memorial Day weekend. But the Fall Guy, the Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt movie is kicking off the summer. This was originally supposed to come out in March, I believe. They pushed it back 2 months when Deadpool 3 officially vacated and moved to July. But this doesn't look like the type of movie you kick off a summer on. This is giving me major, like, 2005 vibes when the summer kicked off with Kingdom of Heaven, Ridley Scott's movie, or 2006, 2004 when Van Helsing came out. So there was 2004, 5, and 6 when it was non-Marvel movies. And yeah, 2006 was 2006. I don't know, Poseidon or something like that. It was a weak movie. But yeah, the movie looks fun, but it doesn't look like the one type of movie you kick a summer off. So it's kind of also reminding me of like 2021 when the movies were like getting back into the swing of things, and they like waited until later in the summer for like the big movies to come out, like Fast 10 and Fast 9, F9, and Black Widow. Otherwise, in May, guys, what are you excited for? I don't want this to just be me talking. My voice is getting tired.
Well,
The Garfield movie, of course.
Thanks for shouting that one out.
Yeah, you can't miss that. That's a must see.
Our latest
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt animated film.
The one movie that like I'm interested in, but I haven't seen all of them, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because that trailer was like so weird. Like it was weird because the characters from the other movies aren't even in it. Again, I haven't seen them, so I don't really know what ends up happening. But this kind of came out of left field for me that they're even making it.
Yeah.
So it just seems like I'm interested. Who knows if I'll see it. But other than that, I mean, if I don't know the background of it, but that's a great cast. So
it's a John Krasinski screenplay.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting, just to
cast is
see if he's got another interesting story to tell.
Yeah, I think it's more of a kid-friendly movie.
Okay.
But or a family movie, but not that there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, continuation of the previous trilogy. It just like doesn't have Andy Serkis or anything, so it seems like it's going to be a bit of a cash grab. An attempt for Disney to continue the success of the Planet of the Apes franchise now that they have the rights of it, since Fox owns it. But Furiosa is the big one of the month. Like by far, trailer dropped today. Furiosa Mad Max Saga, the official title. Hyped as hell for it. Anya Taylor-Joy is Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth is in the film. I mean, it's really a two-hander with them as the only actors of note. But Yeah, prequel
just
to Fury
visually
Road.
looks crazy.
It's crazy that George Miller, like at his age, is still pumping out this shit. It's similar to like Ridley Scott and the types of films he's still doing at his age. Yeah, George Miller, 78. Similar to Marty, like all these like old school legends, just still like showing the young guys how to like make a badass film. And he still wants to do Mad Max 5 after this. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially after a decade of Fury Road being considered like such a like action classic, how Furiosa does.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
looks the
think
part.
Furious is gonna do really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably end up owning May once it comes out.
You'd think.
Summer.
Yeah. Then in June, I'll just run through the titles, and you can some of the big titles, and you can share some thoughts. We got Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff with Ana de Armas, which will include Keanu Reeves to some extent, along with Lance Reddick and Ian McShane, and Angelica Houston from past installments. We've got M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's first film, The Watchers. It'll be interesting to see if her career or if she makes similar types of movies to her dad. Inside Out 2 from Pixar, which we mentioned earlier in the episode. Bad Boys 4, Quiet Place Day 1, which is a prequel and completely different cast from the first two. And then
is Krasinski just a producer on that one, or is he?
I think he wrote one of the treatments, right?
Krasinski came up with the story, and it's just the writer director is the same. Like it's not Tom Krasinski.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got good cast with Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things, Alex Wolff, Djimon Hansu. So I'm excited to see what they do with expanding that world. I thought the opening scene of A Quiet Place Part 2 was one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably where they got the idea for it, which is how cool it played. But Krasinski not being involved as much in this one makes me a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I imagine he's waiting till A Quiet Place Part 3 and do that with his wife and the rest of the like original gang. Bad Boys 4 will be interesting to see how Will Smith does. This is his first big movie post Oscar slap of Chris Rock. So it will be interesting to see how people if people forget or if it's still a major talking point in June. And then one of the weirder movies of the summer is Horizon: An American Saga Chapter 1. It's a Kevin Costner film. He wrote, directed, and stars in it. And Chapter 2 comes out in August. So both movies come to theaters next summer. It's a Western. It's the project that he gave up Yellowstone for. So it's like a major passion project for him. But he hasn't directed a film in quite a while.
It's like The Postman. Didn't he direct that?
He did direct The Postman, Dances with Wolves, a bunch of other stuff.
No.
But it's been a while for that I can recall him doing anything of note on the director side. If you guys want to fact check. But yeah, 2 movies in one summer, both going to theaters from Warner Brothers. It's not like Zack Snyder's 2-part Rebel Moon where they're both going to Netflix like a few months apart. These are both in theaters next summer. Which is like the quickest gap between like a 2-part movies series that I can think of. Like we had things like Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 and Matrix 2 and 3, which were like 6 months apart. But this is like a real quick gap.
Wait,
Open Range was the last movie that he directed in
2003.
Yeah.
and the thing I'm reading is saying that they must have changed it. I guess one of the things I'm reading was reporting it as a 4-film series.
Oh wow.
But now I'm seeing that Wikipedia is saying it's a 2-film series.
Yeah, I see 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean on the poster they're promoting as a 2-part theatrical event.
I wonder if the 2 do decently well. If they're like, hey, by the way, there's a chapter 3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Very well could.
2 will be entirely dependent on how well 1 does. They could be like,
Yeah.
God damn it, we have to promote this movie still after 1 bombs. But we'll see. We'll see if that Yellowstone comeback for Kevin Costner continues on the big screen.
Before we go on, one thing I find interesting, I didn't even realize this, but the Bad Boys film is directed by the directors of Batgirl. The two directors from Batgirl.
Yeah, they did Bad Boys 3 as well.
Oh, they did? Oh.
That's what got them the Batgirl job.
That's cool.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, Bad Boys 3 was good, so hopefully this one is as well. Looks like it's basically the same cast, like supporting characters as well, coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's got Ray Seahorn in it too, so Kim Wexler fans, unite.
Yes.
July, pathetic. 3 movies on the calendar. Despicable Me 4.
They're all sequels.
All sequels. Twisters, a nearly 30 years later sequel.
I saw that and I was like, they're trying to cash in on that a little too late.
Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos. Oh my god!
Not even bothering to bring back anyone from the original. Like, you couldn't even bring back Helen Hunt. Like, obviously Bill Paxton has passed away, rest in peace. But you couldn't bring back Helen Hunt. Like, come on.
David Cornsweet is in this.
What? Our new Superman.
Yeah, our new Superman. Wasn't Maura Tierney? Wasn't she in the original? I feel like she was.
Like, fucking everyone was in the first movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Carrie Elways, Alan Ruck, Conheads Unite, Jeremy Davies. It was a solid cast. Jake Busey. A lot of familiar faces.
I wonder why this got greenlit, close to, 30 years later?
IP.
Yeah, IP. I mean, it's not even a legacy sequel since it doesn't include anyone from the originals.
Yeah, that's true.
Original.
Trying to keep a hold of the IP.
It opened the same month as Mission Impossible 1, and now it is coming out in the summer where Mission Impossible was supposed to have its 8th release. But yeah, I think this is more likely to go the way of another summer 1996 sequel that was very belated and didn't have its star, Independence Day. And likely to go the same way as Independence Day Resurgence. And then we have Deadpool 3, which we already talked about. We expect it to be massive. December, pretty bad. We've got the Borderlands movie that was been like in production seemingly forever.
Video game movie.
Yeah, video game adaptation, which Eli Roth didn't even finish the film. Like, they've had someone else come in to finish it while he did Thanksgiving. Who was it? Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool 1, came in to finish it. Harold and the Purple Crayon, I believe, was something pushed back from 2023, if I'm not mistaken. I think we talked about drafting it last summer. So that's been pushed. That was pushed a far ways away. Trap, the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie. So him and his daughter both have movies next summer. Horizon American Saga Chapter 2. We already talked about the first one. Alien Romulus, which is the next Alien installment. This one is produced by Ridley Scott, directed by Fede Alvarez, and takes place in between Alien and Aliens, while Ripley's in her cryo sleep. I'm excited for this one based on that whole being in the middle of those two movies, having enjoyed both the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. So I have Fede Alvarez's resume so far, and it's got the endorsement of Ridley Scott, which is good. He's producing it as well. And then Kraven the Hunter, our second of 3 Sony Marvel movies next year, which was supposed to come out this past September or October, but got pushed all the way to August 30th of 2023 or 2024. Anything you want to add to those movies?
The director of Kraven has done nothing. Really.
The director of Kraven,
I mean, he's done
awesome. He's way too talented to be in this movie, to be doing this movie. So this is like all right, please pay me money type of job. A Most Violent Year, incredible. Triple Frontier, really fucking good. I haven't seen All Is Lost or Margin Call, but I've heard great things about both of them. This is completely not his type of movie. Yeah. But it's the only reason why I'm excited for it is because of him directing it.
Yeah. No, I was going to say he's done nothing because he's only done a couple things, but I was going to say he's won a bunch of awards for this
You're
stuff.
right. Sorry, my apologies. Yes, only directed 4 movies, but all 4 of them are critically like acclaimed.
Yeah, that's insane.
Doug, you were going to say something?
I was gonna say you also have the involvement of Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I mean, like, yeah, he hasn't. He, I mean,
He doesn't have a draw though. I don't think.
He's
he
definitely not a
doesn't.
draw.
No, he doesn't have a draw, but he hasn't picked two. I mean, the movies he's been in are been pretty good.
He's got a solid filmography.
Maybe it's like a. I don't know. This is a movie I'm expecting to be not great, and like another like Morbius Venom level movie.
I think it'll be better than all those.
I think it's going to be
But,
better too. I think it's going to be the
I'm hoping
best
it's a-
of all of the ones. I don't know if it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be the best of any of the Sony Marvel movies,
yeah.
like since Venom came out.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it surprises us all and it's just like amazing.
Excluding the animated films, of course,
Yeah,
Right.
or
we'll
the
see.
ones in relation with the MCU. But yeah, we'll see about that one. I think what do you think Spider-Man 2, the video game, can help with Craven? Because like he's kind of more popular now than he was a month ago after the video game came out.
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
it might help. Yeah, probably.
I still just think about like Venom from that game. Like, even though Craven was such a big part, like,
Yeah, Venom was the bigger draw, obviously.
yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Well, I guess we'll see.
All
Good
right.
point.
Yeah, because I mean, we would have had Craven, Hunter, and Spider-Man 2 both come out the same month if it didn't get pushed back. Because it was supposed to come out on October 6th. It was supposed to come out. It came out a few weeks before the game. All right, September, only 2 movies as of now: Beetlejuice 2 and Transformers 1. I should note these are all American-made films, so there might be some non-American films that we're missing that should be on like of note. But either way, not looking too good when you only got 2 movies for September. Again, both in part of franchises. Beetlejuice 2, a long-awaited sequel. Going to be tough to replicate the success of the first one, both quality-wise and mostly quality-wise. Since it
You
is,
got Tim Burton back, which is big.
yeah, you got a lot of people back.
Yeah, you got a lot of people back, but you got the director back, which is, a pretty big deal.
Unfortunately,
think-
he hasn't been great in a while.
Burton? Yeah. I feel like his last like really good movie was Big Fish.
Yeah, that's what I regularly think of too, which was 2003. But I mean, he is going all practical. Like he's trying to make it as like well as much like the first one as possible. So maybe this could be a major return to form for him.
Did he write the script for this too?
I do not believe so. The only script I think he ever wrote was Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, okay.
But we got Michael Keaton back, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, along with Jenna Ortega, Justin Theroux, Monica Bellucci, and Willem Dafoe, the 4 of them all debuting. Willem Dafoe, his character has just been revealed about who he's playing. He's a ghost detective who in life was a B-movie action star. Sounds like a fun character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we know Jenna Ortega is playing Lydia Dietz's daughter, Winona Ryder's character. So it'll be the, I guess, step-granddaughter of Catherine O'Hara's character. And, Monica Bellucci is apparently playing Beetlejuice's wife. So that should be an interesting role.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
still, I'm
I
excited
think
for
could
it.
be good. Yeah. I mean, Burton, like, doesn't also do a lot of, so, I don't know.
I'm
I
just
think
happy he's not working with Johnny Depp again. Like he was just doing too many collaborations with Johnny Depp for like a long
Yeah.
time, and like they were just getting wackier and wackier. And it wasn't working for me. So I'm hyped for it. Even if I like know my expectations should be low, I'm going in probably more excited than I should. And then
It'll
we
be
got
fun to see Keaton play that character again, too.
oh I mean, Keaton's he's a rock star. Unfortunately, his return as Batman wasn't as good as it should have been, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I think this one is like he'll be going like full on Michael Keaton, like comedic, and it should be a blast. Transformers 1 is the first attempt at an animated Transformers film since back in the 80s.
I saw that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, the cast looks really good, and then I saw
Yeah,
animated.
I was just wondering. I'm like this is live action.
What's interesting is from the director of Toy Story 4. So like they didn't get like some like random person to some random schlub to do like some crappy animated film. Like they stole one of Pixar's guys, and they got a very good voice cast.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan Michael Key, John Hamm, Lawrence Fishburne. Maybe it'll be good. I'm not sure if it's part of the whole universe, like live action universe that they've created, but we know it's got Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron, Chris Hemsworth's Optimus Prime. I don't know if it's its own thing or not, but probably can't be worse than any of the last. Well, Bumblebee was good, so most of the last like 3 or 4 that they've made.
Yeah.
All right, then we get to the end of the year, October to December. October, we've got just 3 movies so far: Joker, Folie à Deux, Smile 2, and Terrifier 3. Terrifier 3 and Smile 2, cheap horror films that shouldn't be difficult for them to get out by October, even though there's no cast for Smile 2 in place. Joker has already been completed. That's definitely the one I'm most excited about. Probably it might even, other than one other film that we will get to, it is probably my most anticipated movie of the fall season next year. Corey, I know you're hyped for Terrifier 3. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, that one's gonna be hopefully really good. Bringing back the entire cast or most of the cast from the last one, and it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. And then we've got 3. Well, we got 3 big films in November. Obviously, my most anticipated one of the fall is the untitled Venom: Let There Be Carnage sequel. Clearly, I'm the most hyped for that. But no, that was a joke. The one I'm most excited for is Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott returning to that world. And then we've got Wicked Part 1, which is a 2-part adaptation of the Broadway play, or Broadway musical.
One movie that sounds really interesting. New Barry Levinson movie with De Niro.
Yeah, Alton Nights.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Or that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's actually the writer of Goodfellas too.
Mm-hmm.
Did the screenplay.
Catherine Narducci.
I'm not sure how comedic the movie is versus dramatic. But yeah, definitely one to look to. That's on my list of anticipated movies of next year. But yeah, Venom 3. We've got Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor. I guess Chiwetel Ejiofor has kind of been like, I'm getting shafted on the Doctor Strange movies. I guess I'll go do Venom. But
Such a shame.
The co-writer of the first 2 has been upgraded to director of this one. So all 3 movies had 3 different directors. Kelly Marcel is doing this one. Doug, are you hyped for Gladiator 2, or are you apprehensive about this one?
I mean, it's Ridley Scott, like you said. So I mean, there's going to be probably some great arena scenes, which is a good chunk of like what made Gladiator so great. But I mean, you also had 2 outstanding performances with Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. So like, I don't know, those are big shoes to fill.
Massive.
And then, I mean, the score is really good. I'm assuming that you would try to utilize or try to go back to that well for Gladiator 2.
Hans Zimmer is doing the music, according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
Cast is
He did
stacked,
he did
too.
the music for the first one.
Yeah.
Cast is stacked. Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, Connie Nielsen's returning, Derek Jacobi's returning, Djimon Hounsou's returning, Joseph Quinn, Pedro Pascal. So yeah, it's definitely quite a cast.
Yeah. I hope it's good. I mean, I love Gladiator. It's a great popcorn movie. I'm hoping Gladiator 2 fills those same shoes. It's just, to me, it's tough because we're asking Ridley Scott to go back and knock it out of the park.
Yeah,
again,
I might be like Prometheusing myself all over again, like how like hyped I was for that movie, like his return to the alien world, and it was a major disappointment. But yeah, Gladiator.
I mean, you just saw Napoleon, so maybe that's also helping.
I just saw Napoleon. I love Napoleon. It's going to have amazing action scenes. Like it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
But yeah, next fall I'd say the three I'm hyped for, most hyped for: Gladiator 2, Joker, Do, and Beetlejuice 2. And then December. Sorry,
You said for all of next year?
no, for like next fall, like as of what's currently coming out now.
Out of the 10 movies that are coming out in the fall.
Exactly. It was easy to narrow it down. And then in December, it's sequel city again, or franchise city, prequels. We've got a Lord of the Rings animated film, and a prequel to the trilogy. It takes place like 200 years before Fellowship of the Ring, but it's in the whole Peter Jackson world. Miranda Otto, the only character that's returning to voice her character from the trilogy. I think she'll be the narrator. Then we've got the untitled Karate Kid film, which is weird as hell because it's a combination of the Jackie Chan 2010 remake and then Ralph Macchio's world in the same year where they're wrapping up Cobra Kai. So I don't even know if like Cobra Kai is part of this world or if like it's strictly like the Miyagi movies and the remake, or if everything is canon. But it's really weird that it's going to come out the same year that Cobra Kai wraps up its six season run.
It's just confusing because they've said that it's separate. It's been separate.
That's what the Cobra Kai people have said. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's across the Karate Kid verse.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for there's only one other universe.
There's a multiverse in the Karate Kid world, or they're going the Halloween route, where it's like choose your own adventure. Which sequels count and which don't.
Yeah.
We still have to see if they have anything from the next Karate Kid included in the final season of Cobra Kai, since that's the only movie that hasn't been touched upon in the original series. But they have made it clear that the Jackie Chan one is its own world from Cobra Kai. Then we've got Mufasa the Lion King. Okay, so that's like Walt Disney's.
That's their only movie.
Is that their only other movie that we besides Deadpool 3 and Inside Out 2? It's like those two, and then the
20th century,
and then the 20th century movies you mentioned, Alien, Planet of the Apes, and The Omen, and maybe some other smaller films.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
Man, they have a weak slate next year.
There's nothing.
They are rebooting to hopefully come back strong in 2025. Because they got their teeth kicked in this year real badly. But yeah, we've got the prequel to the live action or computer generated Lion King and Mufasa the Lion King. The only returning actors are Seth Rogen, Billy Eichner, and John Connie. And then it's going to follow Scar and Mufasa with new voices. And we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 3. They just showed our first glimpse at Shadow. And then other than that, we've got 2 horror movies on the 25th. Like I said earlier, don't expect that Jordan Peele one to come out, but Nosferatu will come out. And that has a sick cast: Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, Willem Dafoe, etc. And that's directed by Robert Eggers, so it's his fourth film. But yeah, that is the year as of now. Not looking too great. They're going to have to get a lot of things into production quickly to add to the back half of the year, or they're going to have to push movies back from the first half of the year. I was surprised by how little they pushed back in 2023 to 2024 based on two strikes going on simultaneously. And it looks like it's really going to bite them. It's already been biting them in the ass, and looks like it's really going to bite them in the ass next year.
I wonder if there will be any movies that are pulled forward. Like,
my guess
they
is
finish, and then they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can slip this in because this year's a disaster.
I don't think anything's even been put into production where that's humanly possible at this point. The only one that I would be Mission Impossible, which is
that won't happen.
Not possible. That would be a impossible mission for them.
And why would you would probably have to release that in like November, December at the earliest. And why?
Yeah, and those months kind of have a good amount of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
At least, like, it's not like a massive amount of stuff, but I mean, you do have a lot of known franchises during those 2 months. But yeah, there's a lot of weak months. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll talk about our most anticipated films in the next month or so for the entire year. Maybe there'll be some more films on the docket by then. But yeah, I think the only movies that are really going to be added are films that haven't started production yet and are off the smaller scale variety. But I could be wrong. Maybe something will get moved up. But you also have to consider the fact that first priorities for everyone getting back to work is movies that were already in production, or TV shows that were already in production, and then things that they were already like attached to that should have gone into production in the fall, and then like new movies that they would have probably been filming at this point or in the beginning of next year if it weren't for the strikes. So yeah, I think next year's gonna be kind of shallow, and then hopefully 2025 has a nice rebound, similar to how we had a nice rebound from COVID in 2022 or in 2023.
A lot of Universal and a lot of Sony and their subsidiaries.
Yeah, and a good amount of Warner Brothers also.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Not much from Paramount or Disney.
What was it, 4 from Disney? Is that what that's...
Yeah, I mean, of the main Disney brand, I think main Disney brand is just one movie. Then Pixar one and Marvel one, and then a bunch from Fox. But yeah, anything else about the strikes or anything that we want to mention? I know we didn't get in. We didn't get into TV, but that's a whole separate beast. A lot of the things we're going to be looking for won't be out till 2025.
It's interesting. Lots have moved around, and I'm sure this is still gonna move.
Yeah,
a decent amount.
The release date shuffle should continue on for a while. All right, so then that's all we got regarding our main topic. Thank you again for listening. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And again, if you're interested in our box office pools or just want to hear some more about how the films this fall are performing, especially after the Thanksgiving holiday, stick around for some end credit chatter. All right, end credit chatter. Let's talk about our box office pool and how the fall just continues to disappoint. Still nothing contending with Taylor Swift for the biggest movie of the fall. We've had the Hunger Games, ultimately, since our last episode, that had a respectable opening of about $50 million. I mean, it's definitely a respectable opening for a prequel to a popular YA series with barely any of the same characters, none of the same actors. And it held very strong over the holiday weekend, repeating at number 1. So this is something that should make about $150 million domestically, which is looking at, I guess you're looking, who's getting unlimited double miles, Doug or Corey?
Me. Doug.
I'll take unlimited double miles. It was
I wish it was me.
But yeah, you're looking at probably. I mean, at that point, it's like the second biggest movie of the fall. By the time it's done, because I don't think Five Nights at Freddy's has really moved much farther than where it was at. Yeah, 136 million, and that run is over. So you're looking at the Hunger Games there. Then we've got Trolls Band Together. That's had a solid run so far after the premium video on demand release for Trolls World Tour at the start of the COVID pandemic. And then Wish is another animated bomb for Disney. So they are just finishing this year up same way they've been going about this entire year. And it's stinker after stinker after stinker.
yeah. I would love for like Wish to pull an elemental and just kind of like just be the like the little train that
movie,
could,
yeah.
the little engine that could. I just like I don't. Elemental had a lot of positive word of mouth, and I'm not seeing that with Wish. People don't seem to be happy um, with the product on that one.
I mean, it's an Easter egg type movie.
Yeah.
It's celebrating its brand, not like focused on its like story. Or it's like equal parts focusing on the two. So yeah, I mean, you're likely seeing of the two animated films you drafted. I think you drafted Wish in the first round and Trolls in the second round. Trolls is going to be the bigger movie.
Yeah.
Right now it's at 65 million, or after this weekend it's at 65. Well, Wish was at 31 or about 32. Trolls only fell 40% over the holiday. And granted, everything has a pretty solid hold over the holidays. Hunger Games only dropped 35%. But yeah, it looks like Trolls will probably be the bigger of the two. I mean, Wish its opening weekend is 20 million, and Trolls second weekend was 18 million. So that tells you all you need to know right there. So was Trolls your second pick, or was your third pick? Did you have a wraparound?
I don't remember.
I had
I
the
can't.
first wraparound, I think.
You had a yeah, and I was the middle pick, so Doug had the second wraparound. So you took Trolls and Wonka, if I believe, as your second and third. I could be wrong,
Maybe.
Lou.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, the Centennial has not been friendly to Disney. And I'll go right into their next bomb. The Marvels crashed and burned in weekend number 2. It's making the Flash look like a success story. In comparison, obviously different studio, but this is far and away the MCU's biggest failure. I mean, it's like one of the worst like Marvel films. Like it's making Morbius money essentially. It's at 77 million after its third weekend. It's not picking up. It doesn't have legs. People aren't going to see it after the fact. So this isn't even going to make $100 million. So it's real bad.
The way you said that was.
It's bad to see. Theaters are not making their money from superhero movies anymore. I mean, Shazam didn't make 100. Blue Beetle didn't make 100. The Marvels didn't make 100. Aquaman, we'll see. Flash barely made over 100. It has not been a good year for superhero movies.
I heard, we'll see if this actually happens, but I heard a rumor that Disney might put the Marvels on VOD before Christmas, or like right in time for Christmas, like purchase VOD.
Yeah,
because
all right, that makes sense then, because then you're not wasting. You're like, you don't have to do a whole second marketing spread really as much if it's very close. What would be stupid would be putting it on Disney Plus, because then you're further pushing people to be like, why go see it in theaters? It'll be out in a month.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. They've learned their lesson there.
Yeah. No, what I heard is that's what they're going to do, like either the week of Christmas or maybe the week before, and then it comes out on Disney Plus in like February. Yeah. But we'll see. I was reading that earlier.
Wish probably ain't making 100 million either. So Disney, Not good.
No.
Napoleon, on the other hand, had a nice opening weekend for an R-rated drama over the Thanksgiving weekend. It actually topped Wish, which was a bit of a surprise. It's actually a very big surprise.
Yeah.
Very similar numbers, but for an R-rated drama that was approaching on 3 hours, making over 30 million for the holiday weekend is really solid. It's kind of similar to Killers of the Flower Moon box office grosses, only with holiday steroids on top of it. But as we've talked about with Killers of the Flower Moon, box office is an Apple's main concern. So the fact that even if it doesn't break even or anything like that, it'll do what it needs to do once it hits Apple TV Plus. Then two other movies that opened around Thanksgiving. Saltburn had its limited had its wide release expansion over Thanksgiving weekend, but had a limited audience during that expansion. And it definitely does not seem like the type of film to expand to a wider audience in the weeks to come, like The Holdovers, for example, which 3 of its 4 weekends since its first weekend, it's increased its amount from the previous weekend. But yeah, that only had
Was it good?
3 million. Or sorry, like 2 million over the weekend.
Saltburn?
Yeah, was Saltburn good?
It's good, but it's not for most audiences.
Yeah.
It's like
It is good.
Okay.
it's weird as hell, and
Yeah, that's what I figured you meant. It's weird.
it'll gross people out in many different ways. So yeah, that one it's going to need to have a cult following down the road for it to live on. And then something we didn't draft. Corey did draft Saltburn, but something we didn't draft was Thanksgiving. And it's proven to be a film that both Corey or that all of us should have drafted. Solid hit, 24 million so far. So it's made more than all of our worst films so far have performed. And they already announced the sequel coming out in 2025 with Eli Roth returning to write and direct. So a nice little start of a slasher franchise for that team.
This has been a weird draft.
Yeah.
Between like the movies that just like kind of popped on that we didn't know of, or the Taylor Swift deal that happened right after the draft, or just like the things that traditionally hit
just didn't
hitting, and the things that don't traditionally hit it's like kind of like opposite world.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing this year is audiences are kind of getting sick of like what was so traditionally successful.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing all like the older franchises start to fall. We're seeing these original things perform. Only certain genres more like, and with caveats attached to them, like a known director and things like that. But yeah, things have definitely changed because, we'll go into where we're all at. I'm in third place with 126 million, based off Dumb Money, The Marsh King's Daughter, The Marvels, and Napoleon. As mentioned plenty of times before, I lost 2 of my films, Ordinary Angels and The Bike Riders. The Bike Riders was actually sold from Fox to Focus Features and will come out sometime in theaters next year. Along with Ordinary Angels coming out by Lionsgate next year. I still have 2 movies left. The odds are they are going to be my biggest films. Migration and The Color Purple. Both of them come out till the end of December. But Migration, I have to bank on it being an original animated film, being a hit, which I noticed earlier is not something we've been seeing in a very long time. And then The Color Purple, which is a musical. So it's going to be tough for me to move up to second place, let alone third place. Doug, you're in second place with 245 million, so about 120 million ahead of me. You've had A Haunting in Venice, The Creator, The Exorcist Believer, Trolls Band Together, and Wish. You lost Dear David, and you still have Wonka and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on deck. over the holidays. How you feeling based on your last two that came out since our last episode and the two you still have coming up?
Not great. Feels like I'll probably be able to pull in my second place throw in the receipt that I just like haven't left since the draft, since we started this.
Yeah, I think there's only been once you weren't second, and you were third once. But that
I'm
was when
not
we had
feeling.
that was when we had four people.
Yeah, I'm not feeling good about first place, but I'm feeling pretty decent about second place.
As you should. I think Wonka's gonna be successful, and maybe Aquaman will be a bigger hit than we're expecting for both DC and superhero movies in general right now.
But probably
Yeah,
not.
what did you say the predictions were for Aquaman at this point?
Like a 60 million holiday weekend, like 4-day holiday weekend, or 50. Sorry, I think like 50 million holiday weekend.
50 million holiday weekend. Oh my god!
But one of those 4 days is notoriously like dead. Christmas
okay.
Eve is notoriously dead. And Aquaman 1 only made like 60 something its opening weekend. It was really the period in between Christmas and New Year's where like then like the legs came out. So we'll see if Aquaman 2 can replicate that.
Deadline saying 50 to 60 opening.
Okay, so similar numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust these numbers. They were so wrong on Wish.
Yeah, I mean,
Wish was the.
yeah, I think we're still seeing a lot of wonky numbers with the strike just ending only a couple weeks ago, and like traditional marketing getting back into play. They don't really know what's going on, so we'll see. Maybe they're over indexing it.
What did the Marvels do opening weekend?
I don't know, 46 million, something bad. It was 3 days, but it was bad. So yeah, I mean that was my second pick.
Yeah, Migration was your first.
Yeah, and I mean, fucking Napoleon could end up topping Marvels, and so could Migration and The Color Purple.
More than likely, yeah.
So yeah, audiences have changed. And then Corey, all 8 films of yours are coming out. As we've noted in the past, you've had 6 be released so far. I have a Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, The Nun 2, Saw 10, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Saltburn. And then you still have Poor Things and Ferrari coming out. You do have a total of 335 million, which is 90 million above Doug, and what is it? 210 million above me. You've got Hunger Games still making money, and probably another 50 million from that. Everything else you have is basically done. That's been released. Poor Things and Ferrari. We'll see what those two do. But how you feeling? You're going 3 for 3 this year.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're heading into the final month of the final season. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident. I think it's very possible. Like Doug's last few movies make enough money to surpass me. It's more than possible. But I just have a feeling that Poor Things is gonna end up doing pretty well. So we'll see.
I hope it does. It's really the making up of the 100 and what is it, or the 90 million. That is the big thing. If it wasn't for the 90 million, it'd be over.
Yeah.
Because Doug, you got Wish and Trolls both making money, both making more than, when combined, making more than Hunger Games right now. So as far as your in-release movies, you got the edge there.
Yeah.
And you definitely have the edge with Wonka and Aquaman over Poor Things and Ferrari.
It's just hard to close that 90 million gap.
Yeah, it's hard. That 90 million is tough because we don't know exactly if Aquaman is going to be big. We don't know if Wonka's going to truly like break out. I mean, what are the predictions for that? Like I think like 30 opening weekend or 30.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
It's good, but it's not crazy. But it could. I mean, holiday legs are all that matter.
Yeah,
Like you got
35 to 40.
um, Ferrari could be the type of movie that makes a good amount of money based on the types of movies, like based on Oppenheimer and
Good.
Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon, that end up making more than you expect.
Ferrari's just weird for me because I mean,
70 million. That would be fucking huge.
yeah, yeah. Ferrari's weird for me because I just haven't. I feel like I haven't seen much about like of it. Like marketing wise. I feel like people don't even know it's coming out.
Yeah, it's been a decent amount of the movies I've seen in theaters. The trailer, but yeah, I mean it's neon, so it's not like a major studio that's pushing it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be close. I think.
yeah, I mean, I need something like I need Migration, The Color Purple to like both make like monster figures. I need Migration to make like 200 plus million, and The Color Purple to make 100 plus million, for me to have any sort of a shot. Which isn't it's not impossible.
Possible, yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, I could see
It's
all
not
three.
impossible.
I could see
yeah,
all
for
three
me
of
to-
us being close, when all things are said and done. It's all going to come down to the week between Christmas and New Year's,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean, and what holds in January, because we went through the slate and January doesn't really have anything. So if something does like a Puss in Boots, where it makes like Puss in Boots 2, which makes a ton of money in January.
Yeah, that movie had crazy legs.
Yeah, or like a Greatest Showman, which did fucking phenomenal, likewise in the past, as a musical. You never know. I'm not keeping myself out of it, but I think I'm out of it. Yeah. Well, all of us seem like we have a little bit of hope, but we're all being realistic. So we'll come back in another. The next movie that comes out is Poor Things in limited release on December 8th. I don't think it goes really wide until December 22nd. So we're not going to have really much update box office wise until after Wonka's opening weekend. And then things are going to get absolutely crazy. The following week with Color Purple, Migration, Aquaman, and Ferrari, and Poor Things all coming out. So yeah, we will keep you all posted on the holiday box office season and how the remainder of our fall box office pool goes in the weeks to come, and maybe perhaps a month or two, depending on how things shake up. But as always, this has been Corey, Doug, and Murph at Live Breathe Film. See you again next time, film fans.
Bye.